Okay, so we begin. So in the B1K1 folder that I gave to you, you have two pictures in two different formats, JPEG and PNG. So it's the same. It's bitmap. It's not vectors, and we'll proceed with them in Illustrator later. So first, let's launch Illustrator on the Mac. So when you launch Illustrator, it comes with the floating window here. So we'll get rid of it by going to the window menu, application frame, and uncheck that option. So it's no longer in a floating window. Then, if necessary, we'll reset the panel positions by going into that menu, Reset Essentials. But I think you don't have to do it. You have quite a new Illustrator, not modified by another user. Okay, so you have a dark interface, and I have a lighter one. If you wish to change that, you go into the Illustrator menu, to preferences, and to user interface. And you change that here, if you wish. Secondly, I have a two-column toolbar. So if you wish, no, sorry, you must have also a two-column toolbar. So you make it a two-column toolbar with the double arrow. It is quite better. You have larger swatches, color swatches, and so and everything is much clearer. Okay, let's make our first document. File new. So here you have document profiles. These are documents which are in the Illustrator folder, the Illustrator program folder. These documents are in the folder, and each time you start a new document in Illustrator, you make a copy of the profile document. So there are documents for print, for making web interfaces, mobile interface, and so on. We'll start with print, but we'll change some things here. First, we are in A4 format. We'll make it landscape. And then, something really important when you're starting a job in Illustrator, you must change here the color mode, make it RGB instead of CMYK. If you do not do that, you'll be able to make drawings in Illustrator, but all the colors you'll put in your document will be dull. Illustrator will restrict them to only printable colors, printable on the offset printing system. So it's not a good idea to leave it in CMYK, make it RGB, because the drawings you will do nowadays will also be used on devices like tablets, smartphones, so not only print. Okay. You have anything, everything like me in my new document panel? Okay. So now check if you are in RGB mode. Go into the File menu, into Document Color mode, and RGB is checked. You also see that on the document bar here, RGB. But you don't see that anymore if you go into full screen mode with the F key on the keyboard. Try that. Hit the F key shortly, and it changes the way the document is displayed. Full screen mode without the toolbars. Okay, so it's better to go into that mode, full screen mode with toolbars. So with the space key on the keyboard, of course, you move the document if you want on the screen. Okay, let's make a first shape here. Select the rectangle tool and just click on the document, and you have a box which appears, and you may choose the size of the document in metrics. Okay, so I have a 4 centimeter square. The other way to use the tool is to make a drag and drag. Click and drag, so you choose the size of the rectangle any way you want, of course. So 2 ways to use the tools. By clicking, you have the box and you input the values, and the other way, you click and drag and you choose the values. Okay, so what do we have here? Rectangles with a black stroke. But the background of the rectangle, the fill, is it white or transparent? White. How do you know that? Because while the rectangle is selected, you see that in the toolbar, okay? That's it? Okay. But let's check by switching on the transparency mode on the document. Because everything which is outside of these rectangles, just beside it, is transparency. So go in View menu, Show Transparency Grid. And you have the checkered board, which is the way in Adobe softwares the transparency is shown. In the View menu, Show Transparency Grid. So now you know and you see that the rectangles are really white. They have white backgrounds, white fills, and not transparency. So this transparency grid is not pleasing to the eye, so we'll change the way it looks. You go in the File menu and in Document Setup. File menu, Document Setup. And here you'll choose to have a larger grid and medium. So once you have that, you click OK, and you see the grid has changed. But it's not quite pleasing to the eye too. So we'll go back into that same menu, File, Document Setup, and we'll make the lighter color closer to the other one in terms of lightness. So you click and make it a little bit closer to the other one. Okay, so it is a grid, not a solid color, not the same color for both, but it will be better, I think. Okay, good. So let's save that document onto the hard drive. File, Save As. And you may save it in the folder that I gave to you, B1K1 AI Start. Okay, I'll call it first doc 01. Of course, you leave the file extension there. The I extension. Okay, so you have an option panel which comes. So you click OK, no problem. Okay, so I see from here that some of you have save as boxes which looks like that. So you must expand them by clicking here. It's easier. Okay. Okay, let's go to the color swatches panel, window, and it is swatches. So it is in alphabetical order. It's easy to find it. In French, it is nuancier. So here is the swatches panel. I'll take it by its name here. Drag and click and drag. So it is a floating palette. So these are all dull colors. If you glide over them, you have the info which tells you that these are all CMYK colors, because we started with a print document. But a print document may be used for making drawings for other means, not only print. So, first thing I'll do here is add RGB colors to the document swatches panel. So you go in the library here, bottom left menu, and you go into default swatches, basic RGB. So this is another floating panel, not modifiable. You may not put colors into it, but you may select them and add them to the document swatches panel. So you click on the first color, and with the shift key, you click on the last one, which is, by the way, a pattern, not a color, but anyway, click and shift click to select all of them. And then in the menu, you go into the menu and you choose add to swatches. And once it's done, you may close this basic RGB panel. We don't need it anymore. The RGB colors have been added to the document swatches panel. So normally you see that these are brighter colors. These are RGB colors. Of course, you may also later make your own colors into that panel. Okay, so here I am transforming the start document into another one which suits more my needs. Save it, file save. Okay, so let's try another thing now. Leave that document opened, and try to make another document. File new, hit OK. Check the swatches panel. It is the swatches panel for this new document, not for the other one. So there are no RGB colors into it. Check the transparency grid. View, show transparency grid. It is the transparency grid for this new document, not for the other one. So each time you make a new document, the settings you've made are lost. So we'll see how to get the settings you like anytime you make a new document. That's what we'll do now. So close this second document, file, close. Select both rectangles with the black arrow tool and hit the delete key. We don't need them in that document. If I leave them there, each time I'll make a new document, there will be two white rectangles, and I don't need them. You go in the window menu into the layers panel. Do that. Window menu, layers panel, because there's something we have to do every time we make a new Illustrator document. In the layers panel, we have each time to make the thumbnails larger. So we'll make it here. It will be included in the document profile that the thumbnails of the layers panel are large. You go in the menu into panel options, and you choose here other, and you type 80 pixels. Okay, so you have large thumbnails in the layers panel, just as in Adobe Photoshop. So we need to save it in a special place into the Illustrator application folder, a place which holds the new documents, profiles. So first we need to know where is that place. So do that, File, New, then hit OK here, stay in that box, and go into that menu, into Browse. Okay, so it's a little bit different when you are on a Windows PC. On a Windows PC, you'll see in the box, on the top of the box, you'll see a path, and you'll have to select it and copy it. But here we are on a Mac, so it's a little bit different. So everybody sees the new document profiles folder. Okay, you click on it, on its name, and you see the path to it. So you see it's quite complicated. If I ask you to go into that folder through the Finder of the Mac, it will be quite complicated. That's why we are using a little trick here. Okay, so just go one level up that way. Once you're in that upper level, you'll see the new document profiles folder, of course. And you see the sidebar here? Yes, you have the sidebar, it's okay. So you grab that new document profiles folder and you put it into that sidebar, like that. Then, once you have it, you click Cancel. We don't need to do a new document. Click Cancel twice. Okay, it was just to know where is the new document profiles folder of Illustrator. File, Save As. You choose here New Document Profiles, your folder, and you may rename the document A4, horizontal, and RGB swatches. Okay. In fact, you name it the way you want. A way which describes the document. So it's an A4 in the landscape format with RGB in the colors in the swatches. And I save it. Okay, and I hit OK in the options panel. Now you will make a new document in Illustrator, File, New, and normally in the Profile menu you'll find the document that you just made earlier. So now it is part of Illustrator as a start document. Okay, so File, New, and in the Profile menu you find your document as a start document. You just have to hit OK, and you find a document with the nice transparency grid, the nice swatches panel with RGB colors. The layers are displaying large thumbnails. The layers panel is displaying large thumbnails. So it's not the same if you choose File, New, and you start with the Print, Start Document. Okay. Then you don't have a nice transparency grid. View, show transparency grid. It is the ugliest transparency grid. You don't have large thumbnails in the layers panel. You don't have RGB colors in the swatches panel. So this is when you start with the print document profile. But you now have your own start document in the new document profile menu here. So it's really interesting when you're working in Illustrator to make it work that way. Okay, any problem to understand what has been explained here? No problem? Good. So now everyone with its document will proceed to the next thing we'll see here. We will import, not open. Open is for opening Illustrator documents only, not pictures. We will import into that document one of the pictures that I gave to you earlier. So file, place. And in the folder B1K1, you will import the monkey picture. Okay, don't uncheck this. This is really important, especially for color pictures. This is not a color picture, so it's not really important, but leave it checked. It means that, of course, Illustrator will watch what happens to the file on the hard drive, and if the file is changed, modified in any way, Illustrator will tell you, and you will have to update your work. Okay, so place. Then you'll choose the size, you make it here. You see the A4 frame? Zoom out if you don't see the A4 frame. So you put your picture about that size. Okay, in fact, in Illustrator, you may create drawings outside of this A4 frame. No problem in Illustrator. It is just a reference frame, the A4 format. But it is important to make drawings about the size of that frame. Because in Illustrator, it is possible to make really little drawings. I'll show you here, don't do it. You see that I'm in 100% zoom here. Zoom factor 100%. I zoom. 64,000% zoom. I'm able to make drawings with rectangles. I'll make it without stroke, it's better for the demonstration. Okay, I'm able to make rectangles, no problem. To use the pen tool, which is the main tool of Illustrator, of course. The pen tool, we'll talk about it later. Okay. So it is possible to make drawings, very little drawings. When I zoom out, you'll see how little they are. Okay. So I did not take into account the A4 format. I zoomed a lot, and I was able to make drawings, but there will be problems because all of the special effects you put on the objects afterwards, they will not work because they are set to work on normal size objects. So take that into account. So, okay, I'll zoom on that thing here and select them and delete them. I'll do the other way. Now I'll zoom out. I'm looking at the document in 4% zoom. So this is my A4 just there in the center. Okay. I'm able to make drawings the same way that I did earlier, no problem. But it's really large drawings. This drawing is about 3 meters wide. So once again, the special effects of Illustrator will not work well onto these shapes. So don't do that. I select them, delete them. So what I'm trying to explain to you is that the A4 format is not really important. You may make shapes outside of it. It works, no problem at all. But take into account the A4 format for making objects of normal size. Point of view of Illustrator, normal size. And these special effects will work normally on these normal size objects. Okay, I may make objects a little bit smaller, of course. That way, no problem. A little bit larger too, no problem. These are normal size objects. Okay. So we'll save the document here. Your document, you save it, file save as, and we'll name it. So you save it in the folder B1K1, and we'll save it, we'll name it vectorize 01. We'll make our first transformation of a bitmap picture into a vector graphic. So you have placed the monkey picture in your document. Now you select the picture with the arrow key. So maybe I'll change the way the vectors are displayed in this document. Blue onto the gray background of the transparency is not really nice. I will double click on the layer in the layers panel and make it red instead of blue. Okay, I think it is easier to see that the vectors are selected. So you select the picture. As you zoom on it, you are able to see that the picture has not a lot of pixels into it. It's not a problem. In the layers panel, you will expand the layer here with the black triangle here. And you see that you have a linked file. Okay. So, you just selected the picture with the black arrow by clicking on it in the document. Okay, just click beside the picture, it is not selected anymore. And try to select it the other way with the layers panel. So, how do you select the picture here with the layers panel? You must select it not that way. It is the Photoshop way of selecting the layers. It does not work. As you can see, the vectors do not appear on the picture in the document. The way to select a picture in Illustrator is to use the target here. You click on the target and the picture is selected. So it is much closer to the way InDesign works in terms of selecting objects through the layers panel. Don't use the layer panel as if you were in Photoshop. Use it as if you were in InDesign. Use the right column of the layers panel. Okay, so the picture is selected one way or the other. And we'll start transforming these pixels into vectors by going to the window menu into image trace. That's the way they call the panel to transform into vectors, image trace, which, by the way, is an old software which disappeared from the Adobe software's offer and has been put into Illustrator. It was called Streamline. So for those of you who work with people which are for a long time into the computer graphics field, you may hear about Streamline, Adobe Streamline, an old software to trace pictures. But it does not exist anymore. It is the thing we are about to use here, the image trace panel. Okay, you click the preview button, and you see that the pixels are not longer visible. These are vectors. If you zoom in, you see that it has no pixels anymore. And what happened in the layers panel? instead of a linked file, you have image tracing, which you may consider as a box which contains the picture, in fact. The picture with pixels is still into that image tracing box. That's why you are still able to make adjustments. Okay, so you have the threshold, which is a setting which tells Illustrator how to separate the vectors into two kinds, black vectors, black field vectors and white field vectors. So it's not really useful in this picture, which was already much black and white. It will be quite more useful for pictures in grays, which have a lot of grays, different grays. But it works still. You see that you may choose the way the monkey is vectorized by moving the threshold. I think it is interesting still. Look at the face of the monkey. It's the most important part of the picture, the drawing. Okay. Maybe that way. I know that monkey. He made some selfies before. You recognize it? Okay. So, you may show the advanced settings, but it will not be really useful here. But there is one setting which is useful. It is here, ignore white. Check that. And since you are in transparency display mode on your document, you see that this setting tells Illustrator, don't vectorize white backgrounds. It is not useful. It is not part of the illustration. Only the white part of the picture is the illustration. So it is ignore white. Really interesting here. Don't change anything else. Don't choose strokes. It is for something else. Advanced users, don't use it. Just check ignore white. Okay, so we'll save the document, naming it differently. O2. I save it once again, naming it differently. O3. So I'm sure that in O2, the thing that I'm seeing here, I will be able to go back to that state when I want in O2 document. So now it is O3 document. I saved twice. Okay. If your drawing here, it is no longer a picture, it is a drawing. If your drawing is okay with you, and if you want to go further into the process of making something with it, you must go out of the image tracing mode and be able to look really to see the vectors, which you do not see here, the vectors. And you do it by going into the object menu, image trace, release. Object menu, image trace, release. So in French, it is objet, vectorisation de l'image décomposée. Sorry, I think it is expand in English. Yes, expand, sorry. Object, image trace, expand. And in French, objet, vectorisation d'image décomposée. Décomposée is expand in the English version of Illustrator. So what is expand? It's going from a modifiable state to a less modifiable state. So you're no longer able to choose the way the linked file is transformed into vectors. The image trace panel is all grayed, but it is a different state of the graphic, and you will be able to do other things to it. So let's save this. First, we'll see what happened in the layers panel. You no longer have an image trace system into the layers panel. It no longer exists. Instead, you have a group of pixels And in that group, you see a compound path. What is a compound path? It is not a regular path. It is a path composed of several little other paths. In fact, you have 4 paths. You have the path which draws the monkey, and you have 3 other paths which draws holes into that tree and between the arms of the monkey. Okay? Everybody sees that? Okay, so let's grab the white arrow, click just beside the object, it is no longer selected, and you hit the Alt key, don't release the Alt key on the keyboard, and the white arrow has now a little plus sign, and by clicking on the side of the hole, all of the anchor points of that hole are selected, you see? I just show you here, I'm not hitting the Alt key, and when I click on the side of the hole, one or the other, the vectors appear, but they are not selected. They are hollow, not plain vectors. It's not good. If I want to work on all of the shape, I have to hit the Alt key. I don't release it on the keyboard. So I have the white arrow tool with the plus sign, and when I click once, only once, on the side of the hole, I see that all of the anchor points are selected. They are plain, not hollow. So now I work on all of the shape. So if I click a second time, all of the monkey is selected because it is a tool. The white arrow with the plus sign, it is a tool which goes through the hierarchy of the group. So you go from the lower level, and each time you click, you go one level up into the hierarchy. Okay, so you do that. You click just beside the monkey with the Alt key and the white arrow. You click on the side of the shape. All is selected. All anchor points are selected. Don't click a second time. And just release the Alt key. You don't have to push the Alt key on the keyboard anymore. And you will make a drag, a click and drag here. Click and drag, and you move the hole into the shape. And if you put it beside the shape here, it is no longer a hole. It is a plain shape. If you put it that way, halfway into the shape, it makes a hole only the parts which are overlapped. That's the way a compound path works. Okay, so I Control Z to put the hole back in place. Okay. Once you understood how it works, you Control Z too, and you put the shape back in place. So on a compound path, you are not able to put more than one color. It is not possible because it is one shape, a special shape with multiple shapes into it, but it is not different shapes. So try it. Select all of the monkey now with the target here, for example, or with the black arrow. All of the monkey is selected, and you have the fill swatch in front of the stroke swatch, and you choose any color, and the monkey changes color, of course. You may choose CMYK color if you want. That's not a problem. Even if you output the document in RGB, they will be converted into RGB. The CMYK colors will be converted into RGB, so don't hesitate to use CMYK colors if you wish. But if you want bright colors, you will only find them in the RGB part of the swatch, the parts we added earlier. Okay, so this is the fill color. Now I will put on my monkey stroke color. So I put the stroke swatch in front of the fill swatch by clicking on it. Don't double click on the swatch, you'll end up with the color picker, which is not good at all. Don't use it in Illustrator. It is the same in InDesign. You don't double click on the swatches and use the color picker. It is much better in Illustrator, as it is in InDesign, to use the swatches panel. I'll explain why later, but some of you may remember the InDesign course we took together, and you already know why it is better to use the swatches panel. So you put the stroke swatch in front of the other. You choose the stroke color. Okay. We'll change the width, the weight of the stroke. So you go into Window, Stroke, Fenêtre Contour in the French version of Illustrator. This is the stroke panel. And the stroke panel is quite simple, as you may see, but it is not. If you show options, you'll see that it is a little bit complicated. Okay, so show options. We need some of these options now. So you increase the weight of the stroke. Nice. Okay. Good. 16 point is good. And in fact, it is 16 millimeters, I think. It must be the same here. I'm not sure. I'm not saying anything here. Okay, 16 points weight for the stroke. So, do you see what happened to my monkey? It seems it shrinked a little. It lost some weight. You see the shape in blue here? It is not very good. But sometimes, I don't know, sometimes in graphics, maybe this effect is okay and nice, but not this time. It changes the stroke that I've put on the monkey, changes the shape of the monkey. So you select it if not yet selected, and you have the option here to put the stroke inside of the vector, because you see the stroke is just either part of the vector, inside of the vector or outside of the vector. Both ways will work. They will keep the shape of the monkey intact, visible. But, okay, I put it outside. I think it is best to put it outside of the monkey. Okay. So, other things to do. You see that we have some angles here. We'll cancel them by making them round here. Round join. So the angles are converted into round. Maybe it's better. These options are not relevant here because they work only on opened shape. And we don't have any opened shape here. We only have 4 closed shape. So this is not relevant here. Okay. I'll make it 6 points now. 6 points weight for the stroke. And I save it. I save the file onto the hard drive. Of course, you see that I'm changing the number of the file a lot of time here. That's a little trick to make sure that I don't lose any of the things that I do. If I make a real big mistake in my document, I'll still be able to go back into the history of the document that way. I think you must work that way too. It is quite a nice way to work. Okay, so now we have a monkey, great. We'll make a pattern with it, so we'll make several monkeys close to each other, and they will fill any shape. So let's try that. First, we'll we'll experiment with some patterns which already exist. So you go into the rectangular tool in the toolbar here. You go into the menu. You go into that vertical bar just on the right of the menu. It is not decorative, it is useful. It serves a purpose. When you release the mouse, you have a floating panel which shows all of these tools. And it works with other tools too. You see? But I will not use these tools today. Okay, so you choose the ellipse tool and you'll make a shape, or you may use the polygon tool if you wish, and you make a shape, a large shape like that. Okay, I move it with the black arrow. And if I want to increase the size of the shape, I'll use, as in InDesign, I'll use the free transform tool and grab the handle, and with the shift key and Shift and Alt, if I want, I change the size of the shape. Okay, quite a large shape. It will hold the pattern I'll make with the monkey later. Later, I'll make a pattern with my monkey, and they will fill the shape here. But first, let's try with some other patterns. Okay, everybody has the shape. The large shape, no problem. Okay, so in the shape is selected, and in the toolbar you make the fill swatch in front of the stroke swatch, and you have here some patterns in the swatches panel of the document. I will increase the size of the thumbnails. I'll go in the menu and choose large thumbnail view. Okay, so I see them clearly here. As you can see, some of them have holes, have transparency. It's not a problem. It's really nice that it is possible to put transparency to patterns. Okay, it works. Maybe if it doesn't work, you forgot to put the fill swatch in front of the stroke swatch. You forgot to select the shape. You always have to select the shape you're working on in Illustrator as in InDesign. In fact, those two softwares are some kind of cousins because they both work vectors. They both work with vectors, InDesign being more text-oriented and Illustrator being more graphic-oriented. Okay, so we have some other patterns, still transparency. This one too. Okay, we'll go and grab some panels with patterns. So you go in the swatches panel in the menu, library menu, and we have patterns here. Patterns. I will choose decorative legacy. These are all the patterns which shows all patterns from the 19th century and so on. Okay, same as for the swatches panel of the document. I've chosen in the menu a large thumbnail view. So this panel is not modifiable. You cannot add or remove anything, but you will be able to put them into the swatches panel of the document just by selecting them. It appears automatically in the swatches panel of the document. Okay, good. Okay, now I will ask you to choose this pattern or any pattern which have a direction into it. You see the direction of the waves here. For example, this pattern, no direction, it is all plain pattern. I don't know how to say it, but you understand what I'm trying to say here. So if you are able to choose this pattern, it is nice. for the next things, I will explain to you about how to change the size of a pattern, the direction, also inside of a shape. This one is nice too. You see, you can feel the direction, the lines of things into it. Okay, so how to increase the size of the pattern into that shape? You have to select the shape, of course, and then you have this tool, the scale tool, and you double click on the scale tool, and in the box here you will choose transform patterns, and you will uncheck transform objects, because I don't want to change the size of the object but only the pattern inside of the object. You preview and you change the percent here, 200, hit the tab key on the keyboard, and you must see that the pattern increases in size. Okay? Okay, now you double-clicked on this scale tool. You choose to transform only patterns, not objects. You checked preview, you have written here 200. Now you hit OK. And see what happens if you go back in that tool by double-clicking on it. The 200% you've written earlier are coming back, and the pattern is increased. So now it is 400% compared to its original size. So be aware of this feature. When you come back in the scale panel, your earlier settings come back. Okay. So maybe I make it 150 here. Tab. Okay. So you must watch what happens on the shape in order to choose the right setting here, of course. Okay. How to rotate the pattern? You have another tool here on the left. It is the rotate tool. You double click on it. Preview is on. And you are able to rotate the pattern. Okay. You must have the shape selected, of course, otherwise it will not work. Okay, now I will transform my monkey into a pattern. Any shape can be transformed into a pattern. You just grab the monkey with the black arrow and you put it into the swatches panel of the document, not the other panels with patterns. It will not be, it will not work. You will not be able to put the monkey into the decorative legacy panel. So put it into the swatches panel of the document, and here it is, new pattern. Okay, once you've done that, don't click on it, otherwise you'll put the pattern inside of the monkey. It is not good, don't do that. Control Z if you've done that. Unselect the monkey by clicking beside it, and you will select the shape you've made earlier and put the monkey into that shape. Just select the monkey, and here it is into that shape. Click a second time, and all of your settings, scaling, rotate, and it is lost if you click a second time to apply the pattern inside of the shape.